In a time long forgotten, there was a king who had everything a man could wish for: vast lands, immense wealth, and absolute power. Yet despite his worldly success, a profound sense of discontent gnawed at his heart. He often found himself wondering why happiness eluded him, when he seemingly had all the ingredients that should lead to it. Parallel to the king's luxurious palace lived a Buddha, known throughout the land for his serene demeanor and the joyful light that seemed to radiate from him. Unlike the king, he owned nothing, living each day with simplicity and a quiet grace that intrigued those around him. One day, driven by his restless quest for happiness, the king decided to visit this Buddha. As he approached, he observed the Buddha sitting peacefully under a tree, his face alight with a content smile that seemed at odds with his humble surroundings. The contrast between them was striking. Here was the king, adorned in fine garments and jewels, standing before a man in plain robes, with no throne or crown to denote his importance. Yet, it was the Buddha who seemed to possess something far more valuable that the king longed for: peace and happiness. Compelled by his intrigue, the king asked directly, "Why are you so happy?" The Buddha looked up with gentle eyes and replied in a calm voice, "Great king, my happiness comes from cherishing what I have at this moment and not desiring what I do not need. It is not held in possessions or power, but found in the simplicity and acceptance of life as it is." The king was taken aback. Such a concept was foreign to him. He had spent his life accumulating more wealth, more power, more respect, and yet here was this serene figure claiming happiness came from the very opposite. This response did not just puzzle the king. It planted a seed of curiosity about the nature of true happiness, and whether he could ever experience it as the Buddha did. As he left that peaceful presence and returned to his palace, his mind wrestled with these new ideas, marking the beginning of a profound journey inward that would challenge everything he knew about happiness. The Buddha's simple yet profound insights began to resonate with me, especially the concept of impermanence. Everything around us, including our possessions, our status, and even our emotions, are transient. They change, they evolve, and eventually fade away. Clinging to them as if they were everlasting sources of happiness is therefore futile and often leads to suffering. This was particularly eye-opening for me as a king, deeply attached to my wealth and power, realizing that these are not permanent fixtures, but fleeting elements in the grand tapestry of life. Another principle that struck a chord with me was no self, or anatta. This teaching suggests that the idea of a permanent, unchanging self is an illusion. We often construct our identities around what we own, whom we know, or how others perceive us. Understanding that these are not the essence of who I truly am was both liberating and disconcerting. It challenged me to look beyond my royal identity and contemplate what lies at the core of my being when stripped of all titles and treasures. Through my interactions with the Buddha, I began to grasp how suffering, dukkha, arises not just from physical pain or obvious misfortunes, but from our desires and expectations. The more we want things to be a certain way, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment and discontent. Conversely, happiness in Buddhist thought is not about achieving a perfect state where everything aligns with our desires, but about cultivating a mindset that accepts and adapts to whatever life presents. These principles radically altered my understanding of happiness. It was no longer about adding more to my life, but subtracting. The letting go of unnecessary desires, the shedding of false identities, and embracing the impermanent nature of existence. This shift in perspective was both profound and practical, offering a path to a peace that does not depend on external circumstances, but grows from within. One of the most accessible ways to embark on this journey towards happiness is through mindfulness practice. Mindfulness helps us cultivate a deep awareness of the present moment, allowing us to experience life as it is, without overlaying it with our personal biases or preconceived notions. Simple practices like mindful breathing, where we focus solely on the rhythm of our breath, or mindful walking, where we pay attention to each step and the sensations underfoot, can significantly increase our sense of peace and well-being. Another practical step is learning to let go of attachments. This doesn't mean abandoning our responsibilities or relationships, but rather changing our relationship with them. It involves recognizing that clinging too tightly to people, outcomes, or material possessions can lead to suffering. To practice this, start by identifying one small attachment each week, perhaps a material object or an outdated belief about yourself. Reflect on its impermanence and gently remind yourself that your happiness does not depend on it. Over time, this practice can help reduce the hold that unnecessary desires have on your life. Finally, fostering compassion towards ourselves and others can greatly enhance our happiness. Compassion involves recognizing the suffering of others and taking steps to alleviate it. But it also means being kind to ourselves, acknowledging our own pains and struggles without judgment. Engaging in acts of kindness, whether volunteering in your community, offering support to a friend in need, or simply treating yourself with care during difficult times, can lead to profound joy and satisfaction. These steps are not just theoretical, they are practical actions that anyone can integrate into their daily lives. By practicing mindfulness, letting go of attachments, and cultivating compassion, we align ourselves more closely with Buddhist teachings on happiness. This alignment not only enhances our own well-being, but also contributes to a more peaceful and joyful world around us. As we wrap up our exploration of happiness through the lens of Buddhism, it's clear that this ancient wisdom offers valuable insights for our modern lives. The story of the king and the silent Buddha serves as a powerful reminder that happiness isn't found in the external trappings of wealth, power, or status, but in the inner landscape of our minds and hearts. Reflecting on the principles of impermanence, no self, and understanding the nature of suffering and happiness has hopefully provided you with a new perspective on how to approach life's challenges and joys. These teachings encourage us to look beyond surface-level desires and delve deeper into what truly sustains lasting happiness. I invite you to consider what true happiness means to you. Is it tied to specific conditions or possessions, or can it be something more profound and enduring? How might your life change if you embraced some of the practices we've discussed, such as mindfulness, letting go of attachments, and cultivating compassion? If this conversation has sparked an interest, I encourage you to explore more about Buddhist teachings or engage in further self-discovery through meditation and mindfulness practices. There is a rich world of wisdom waiting to be explored that can enrich your understanding of yourself and the world around you. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the heart of Buddhist teachings on happiness. May you find peace and joy in every step of your path.